This is the 80s Show on iHeartRadio.
Let's go. Say ho, say ho, whoa, ho, whoa. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show.
You know, the expression live in the now. Live in the now. There's lots of philosophers and lots of philosophies that will tell you, live in the moment, live for the moment. The past is the past, the future is indeterminable. You are missing everything that's good in life if you're incapable of living in the moment. And it's rhetoric that you heard trotted out a bazillion times. But I think I finally got it on the way into work today when I was hating the world, sitting in traffic, going like, oh, I got it. Big deal. Running a couple of minutes behind. But it was the end of the world to me. I was just, as it often does while you're behind the wheel of a car, the absolute worst part of my personality came out. That part that went, there'd better be blood on the asphalt as a result of this traffic. If there's not loss of life making me 3.5 minutes late for my radio show that almost no one listens to, well, that'll be the end. Just like horrible, horrible stuff. And you know what? I would be better served to go, I can't really do anything about this. I can just sit here and, pontificate something. How could I make this situation good? How could I think about something that's going to help rather than hinder me? As a result of me being 3 minutes late because of some unseemly traffic. And it's that lack of an ability to live in the now that I think hurts us a lot of the time. We're stressed about the past. We're stressed about the future. And you have to be responsible. You have to plan. You have to take responsibility for things that are going to happen in your life, especially if you have other people depending on you, wife, husband, kids, whatever the case may be. But it's that inability to live in the now, to get over the past, to not worry about the future that I think is complicit in the retardation of the human race as a species. And I'll give you one very broad example. I remember talking to a black friend of mine not so long ago. And he was like, dude, I really don't understand. I don't understand it. He was just like, my mom and my dad and my brother are still banging on about reparations for slavery. And I was like, well, slavery is a horrible, horrible thing. The human cost, the tragedy that is slavery, and, sort of the way that things were handled when slavery ended. It was like, hey, lots of luck to you. You're free now. I know you've been kept in a hot box, whipped and beaten up until this point, but let's just shove you out into the world and see how you manage. The end of slavery kind of didn't really set up the rest of civilization all that well, so I see why some people are banging on about reparations. And he was like, yeah, but what do you know about the history of slavery? I was like, well, it was bad, human cost, hot boxes, all of the above. And he was like, yeah, but you know who sold us into slavery? And I was like, oh, I see what you're getting at. I actually do. Because in Africa, the moment black people in Africa learned that other black people, just by virtue of the fact that they had a different skin color to these weird European invaders, black people had a monetary value. People all of a sudden became currency. Like the concept of slavery, not necessarily a new one, but when people found this out in Africa, one tribe would overtake another tribe and then sell that tribe off to the white man. True story. Now, does that negate what happened once those slaves got to America? Does that negate the egregious conditions they were kept in as they were transported to America? No, not even a little bit. But there's layers of blame and there's layers of things that you can feel bad about at any given time. And you can remain angry about those things, and you can eat yourself and other people up. Unless you're willing to live in the now.
If you like what you're hearing, tweet the show at ADSXE. AD on iHeartRadio.
I do what I want, when I want, how I want. Yeah, I do what I want, when I want, how I want.
Twitter roll call. I love that. I love it when people check in with us. Thank you, Reaper Garcia, who tweeted to us. Y'all smell that? I think it's AD and Funk FM on iHeartRadio. Yes, it is. And I took a bath last night before getting into bed. Do you bathe before or after? Like, you have an early start, Funkhouser. If there's anyone who I thought would shower or take a bath before going to bed, it would be you. What do you do?
It varies. It depends on my mood. Yesterday, I took a shower bath thing. And
a bower.
Yeah, I started the shower and I said, I'm going to treat myself today. I'm bathe it up. Because I just moved in this place with a big old bathtub, so I'm using it.
I do that often. I'll be in the shower and I'll be like, I'm going to go Silkwood on this one. I'm going to go Silkwood in this one. I'm going to sit down in the shower and also a tepid pool of my own shame because I can't be bothered to stand. And after I'm done with this, I'm going to pee sitting down as well. Yep, that's what I'll do, even though my butt's wet from my bower. It's a horrible thing, and it gives you a picture of what you're going to be like if you make it to the age of 90. But if you give it a go, it's really not bad. There's something therapeutic about lying down and having a shower hit you. Yep, there is. But like with you, with the timing thing, like, here's the thing. It's been hot recently, and your new place doesn't have air conditioning, right?
It's got a little box in the window. It does nothing.
Right. Gotcha. So despite the number of BTUs allegedly put out by your window box, you probably, if you sweat during the night, wake up feeling, I didn't shower at all. But you wake up so early. I can't imagine sort of like, what time do you get up?
Between 5 and 6 usually, and sometimes it's shower morning, sometimes it's not. Depends on how much I'm dragging.
Oh, that's that was before you moved, right? Because you used to get up at like 4 or something.
Yeah. I used to get up way early. Used to get up yesterday.
Yeah. That's an unfortunate way to be. So between 5 and 6 isn't so bad. You can get up and shower. Then that's okay. That all works out. I guess what I'm talking about is a sense of timing. It occurs to me that my sense of timing in the last segment, where I decided to take on a rather weighty topic of living in the now and how it wasn't just white people to blame for slavery, that might have taken a little bit more than 3 minutes to get through that I allowed myself to do it. I was like, I wasn't able to tie that up into one succinct ball of wax with a bow on it in the allotted time. I think I almost got there, and I vaguely impressed myself. But let's just revisit that before we take a look at the events of today in my Witness News. It's that ability to live in the now that I think would make everything better on this planet for us, not as Americans, as a species. And I bring it up because there's several different applications, hundreds if you look throughout history. But slavery is one that I think is incredibly tangible in this country. Why? Because I have never in my entire life lived through a period where I felt such a palpable divide between people of different skin colors, which is just crazy to me because I was just like, this seems like it shouldn't have been our problem. This was our grandparents' problems or Abraham Lincoln's problems. Why is there this divide? And I talked to a black friend of mine, and he got rather bent out of shape about his family sort of banging on about reparations for slavery. And I was like, well, yeah, but, slavery was awful, a great human tragedy. And, I can kind of understand their point. I won't be arrogant enough to say I understand their point because, look at me, Whitey McWhite, mayor of Whitetown. I am whiter than Tom Petty, and that's pretty white. But here's the thing. While I can't say I understand how they feel, I can objectively say that hearing that they feel that way makes sense. And he was like, yeah, but do you know about the history of slavery? I was like, well, yeah. I mean, it was terrible. People kept in horrible conditions, lots of them dying on the... And he was like, no, but back further than that. I was like, oh, you mean this idea that... African tribes would overtake other African tribes and then sell them to the white man because they realized they had currency. He's like, yeah. He's like, how far back you want to go? Because ultimately, we can go far back enough to know that we as a people sold ourselves out to slavery. I was like, but do you really feel that? We as a people? He was like, well, of course I don't feel that. I was born in 1982 in Wisconsin. No, I don't feel that. But if people are willing to go back that far, doesn't it seem detrimental to human progress? I was like, wow, it's deep, dude. And it came up. That conversation came up in my mind. That ability or that inability to move past things, is it detrimental to human progress? And I was thinking about how I was eating myself alive because I was going to be 3 minutes late for this radio show, sitting in traffic. And I was like, that's detrimental. That's not solving anything. And I was like, wow, being upset about the traffic light that I missed 5 minutes ago and the longest red light ever, and now this traffic ahead of me, I was like, I'm living in the past angry at a red light. And I'm living in the future mad at this traffic jam, wishing death on someone who caused it. None of these are productive feelings to have. And much like tracing the roots of slavery back to Africa, where one tribe sold out another tribe to the white man, well, it's interesting. Philosophically, it might bear some thinking about, but does it change anything? Does it help anything? No, it doesn't. If anything, if you allow yourself to get consumed by it, it's going to slow you down. It's going to eat you up. And it's that inability to live in the now. Look, everything that's going on in the Middle East, based on interpretations of what God allegedly said, things that were written down by man, whether you want to have it be on the Christian, Muslim, or Jewish side, the interpretation of in the Quran, in the Bible, in Jewish texts, people are willing to kill in the name of these things. People are willing to shed massive amounts of blood. People are willing to let incredible amounts of hate fester. Is that useful? No, it's not. Is that useful to anyone? It is not. Children being brought up to be suicide bombers. People growing up to be afraid of children because they might suicide bomb you. Repression, degradation, abuse, thousands of years of it. All based on things written down by guys whose names we do not have. They might have been smoking vast amounts of whatever the equivalent of, in the year of our Lord, crack was. We have no idea. Yet we're unable to move past these things. We're unable to stop taking them as gospel. And I'm not talking about Americans. I'm not Americans or Christians or Jews or Muslims or any of the above. I'm talking about all of us as a species being willing to shed blood on things written down by who knows who the hell it was thousands of years ago. Religion's a wonderful thing. Spirituality is a wonderful thing. It gives value to so many people in so many ways. But the inability to live in the now and take what's useful from these texts that were written thousands of years ago, the inability to live in the now and forgo the parts that talk about beheading, that talk about how John the Baptist had concubines and that was fine, the parts that talk about how there is only one God and you should kill people that don't accept that, the parts that talk about all the archaic, medieval, unbelievable BS that was spouted back in those days that have nothing to do with human progress and looking out for one another. The way those passages can be twisted, like the story of Cain and Abel. Well, God put a mark on him, and that mark must be Jew or black, so we should obviously kill them. No, the story of Cain and Abel, take the good part of it. It was basically God saying, you're your brother's keeper, i.e., I put you on this earth to look out for one another, watch each other's ass, be good to one another, don't be a dick. And it is all this inability to take things at face value, live in the now, move past the things that are retarding us as a species,